My name is Megan. I am 27 years old and I am from the United States of America. I currently live in South Korea as an English teacher at an elementary school. It was just 70 years ago that North and South Korea split, a line drawn between the communist-leaning North and the democratic South. Post-split, North Korea would transform into a totalitarian state ruled by a dictator, the population struggling under hunger, poverty, and human rights violations, while South Korea would experience some of the fastest economic growth seen in recent years, earning its place as one of the Asian tigers. The fracturing of Korea in the 1950s would create a controlled experiment in the social sciences, one involving millions of human beings. This controlled experiment continues to this day, and a new development could be on the horizon. The matter of reunifying the two countries is more germane than ever, but support is waning for reunification. The response to reunification from inside South Korea is generally positive from older generations. This makes sense that they would support it. They remember Korea as one united country and would like it to return to one. They're also much more likely to have relatives in North Korea, increasing their desire for reunification so as to join them once again. The younger generation, however, has no such attachments. They did not grow up in a unified Korea. They grew up during a time of constant provocation and hostility from the North. They simply don't see this issue from a sentimental standpoint like their older counterparts. Moreover, the younger generations are acutely aware of reunification's impact. It would have a huge effect on the economic stability of their country and create an overall economic burden on South Korea for a time. While the older generation may be willing to shoulder that burden, the youth is not as keen. This identity gap widens every year. Where the older generations still feel a sense of oneness and ethnic nationalism, the younger generations recognize North Korea as a stranger, a country that shares little other than a language and a common past. To remedy this passivity, I believe there should be an increase in education and an effort to connect South Korean citizens and North Korean defectors. Perhaps having more to connect with will decrease the indifference felt towards reunification. Trying to convince a generation to do something is a much more difficult task than simply educating them and having them connect on a personal level with North Koreans. So I believe increasing a connection between the youth and North Korea, as well as focusing on the long-term benefits of the merger to reassure the younger generation about stability, will garner more support for reunification. Now, when it comes time for reunification, as South Korea's greatest ally, the United States will no doubt have a role in the process. After all, the United States had a hand in creating the existence of two Koreas in the first place. So it's accepted that the United States will have a hand in this matter. However, Americans themselves have a fairly limited scope on North Korean issues. In fact, when we hear North Korean issues, you can bet our minds immediately jump to understanding that as North Korean nuclear issues. This is most probably due to the fact that the only way in which the United States interacts with North Korea publicly is on the topic of denuclearization. Frankly, in America, there is not much awareness about North Korean issues beyond that, and certainly most people have no idea that the matter of reunification is even being considered, much less what that means for the countries involved. Many Americans might have a concept in mind about North Korea and may vaguely be aware of the state of the country and their human rights violations, but nothing in detail and nothing in depth. Therefore, I believe a good way to get the American youth invested in the topic of reunification would be to draw on what America was founded on in the first place: freedom. Everyone deserves basic human rights, and no one touts this idea more than the USA. We're proud of our freedom, sometimes excessively so. After all, there is a long history of the United States inserting itself in countries to promote liberalism and spread democracy. But for Americans, the awareness of North Korean issues simply isn't there. I think if there was a greater push to draw attention away from the instigating actions that North Korea constantly employs, and instead focus on the topic of the atrocities that North Korea commits and the plight of its people, Americans would definitely look for a way to stop them from occurring. In this way, reunifying the two countries would be something the American youth could get behind. As the reunification process will no doubt be long and arduous, it is important to gain the awareness and support of the youth not only in Korea, but also in the United States. A unified Korea will need to be as stable as it possibly can, so the younger generation's willingness to work hard to achieve that stability is invaluable. It is only with the support and hard work of the people that a unified Korea will succeed. Thank you.